never rests.
Careless in the sky. What a thrilling time to be alive.
Good morning. What a time to be alive indeed. It is the day of the Sugar Bowl. Georgia meets Ole Miss tonight, 8 p.m. in New Orleans, and a lot of action to get to before that, Rusty. A great day of football ahead of us, which is exciting, man. These layoffs, I hate them. You're getting juiced up. You said you hit the 5-hour energy already.
Yeah.
So. It's a great day of football ahead of us. Interesting game last night as well in the college football playoff. Another one that we will discuss here momentarily. With Georgia and Ole Miss set to kick off tonight. And look, if you're looking to make the last minute trip, all right, you could probably still hop a flight down there at ATL, get to MSY pretty quick. Game time
anywhere east of Carrollton right now, you'd be pushing everybody else. You got a chance.
GameTime.co, the place to go if you're trying to get into the Sugar Bowl here last minute. A lot of tickets available, so you can get in for a pretty good deal here today. Look, Game Time has you covered on a number of fronts, all in pricing, the view from your seat. They've got you all the way around, and so. I mean, look, man, we got lower bowl tickets, $333 right there in the corner of the end zone. That's not bad at all, man. That's pretty sweet. So if you want to get down, catch the dogs, GameTime.co, the way to go. They deliver the tickets super fast. It's one of those seamless experiences. You don't have to worry about the validity of the tickets. They handle that for you too. It's really just a great setup all around when it comes to GameTime.co. So get over there, check them out. Use code ON3, ON3, for $20 off your first purchase. Now, you can take the guesswork out, download the app, create an account, and use code ON3 for $20 off. Again, create the account, code ON3, and swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, Rusty. It's here, buddy. The game we've all been patiently waiting on for some time. And it's been an interesting lead up to this one, Rusty, I will say, because I feel like Ole Miss is coming into this one with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and rightfully so, perhaps, right? I mean, they were abandoned by their coach. He's somewhere else. I saw a rumor floating around. I don't know if it's true that perhaps he will be there with the governor taking the game. Lane Kiffin is a different animal, man. There's no doubt about it. You either love him or you hate him, but he makes things interesting. That would be interesting to see. You've got multiple Ole Miss assistants, right, that are going to go to LSU. I mean, this whole thing is really wild. But the players came out and said, look, you know, we're ready for it. The one that caught my eye was the defensive tackle saying, 73, Juan Gaston, nothing special over there. You knew his name and number, so he must have done something that caught your eye at one point. Kawan Lacey says he's going to be healthy. I'm curious, Rusty, this one, we've talked about this a lot. You've had a chance to go back, analyze, you know, from that point to this point, what's different in this game?
Well, the obvious one is this is Pete Golden's first real game. I mean, they were superior roster to Tulane. It went out home field advantage, had a great showing there, and did what you kind of expected them to do against Tulane. But this is obviously a different animal when you're staring down Georgia, staring down Kirby Smart on the other sideline, and a team that beat you early in the year. Now, if I'm Ole Miss, I'm looking at that game going, that game got away from us. You know, we should have won that game. We had all the momentum in the world. We had a double-digit lead, you know, in the second half. You know, we lost opportunities there. And, you know, that's the way I would look at it for Ole Miss. Now, you know, all the variables to me are, you know, how does Pete Golden handle this situation? How does he handle a game day today? You know, what does he do about calling timeouts and making those in-game decisions that you have to make? How does he help make halftime adjustments on the other side of the ball? Because, listen, Charlie Weiss is running the show on the other side, and he's been heavily involved in the offense. Obviously, it was Lane Kiffin's offense, but he calls it. It's almost like Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann. Yes, Kirby Smart's going to have a lot of, you know, input on the defense, but Glenn Schumann calls it. I know that 100% fact. This is his defense, and Kirby Smart, helps with the game plan during the week. But Charlie Weiss is running the offense. But Charlie Weiss is also going to LSU. If they were to lose tonight, it's a wrap. I mean, his time at Ole Miss is over, and so it's just kind of a weird dynamic. Never really seen anything. I think the off the field variables to me are what's really wild. I do think Georgia schematically will play them a little bit different. I looked at it and I thought that Georgia was pretty heavy blitz early on against Trinidad, and he hurt him on his legs. He didn't hurt him as much in the passing game. He hurt him a lot with his legs in that game. And rushing touchdown. I think he was 19 for 36 for 263 yards. He only threw one touchdown pass, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns, and he hurt him a lot extending plays. So I would imagine a little bit more zone this time. Probably, you see guys like Chris Cole, you see guys like Zayden Walker that's going to spy him at times. And I think that one of the differences too is the emergence of Zayden Walker as a pass rusher. DeMello Jones, he was very early. I heard Nick Saban say it this morning on game day that going into the game, Georgia had like nine players that played on defense in that game that had less than 100 and something snaps, less than 200 snaps. So a lot of inexperience. Those guys aren't inexperienced anymore. So, Georgia's going to give them some different looks on defense, and they've been playing really well. There's all the questions, Bruce. 26 days off.
Sure.
No teams won so far with a bye. We're about to start the day, and we'll see what Texas Tech can do. I'm not really worried about that so much about that stat. I think it's how you handle it individually, and I think Miami will get into that game. But I think they whipped Ohio State up front last night on both sides of the ball, and that was the difference in that game. So it didn't have anything to do with the bye. You just got whipped up front, and you should have been rested up. They had whipped up front. So I wouldn't put too much about having a bye loss, a bye week contributing to a loss there. But there's so much in this game. There's so many variables to it. It's going to be a long day waiting for kickoff. Excited. I think it's going to be a great game. This is a great football team now. Ole Miss can really hurt you. I think this first quarter and a half is going to be huge in this game because what kind of energy. I think Ole Miss is going to come out with incredible energy. Everything those kids have been through, there's no way they're not. I mean, it is. Sure. If you're in that locker room, Roos, it is Ole Miss it is Ole Miss players against the world. And I think that's just the way I would look at it too. So there's a lot of variables to be watching early on.
I want to shout out my friend here, Brandon Wells. Says Brandon Wells from Nashville, Tennessee. Love y'all guys. First time catching you guys live. Thank you so much, Brandon. We appreciate you tuning in. And thank you to everybody over here wishing us Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well, man. What a great way to start off the new year. Rusty, you said you mentioned the lack of experience the first time, right, with some of these guys, less than 100 snaps for several of them. To me, that's the big difference in this game, right? Georgia has gotten better consistently since that game. And I'm not saying Ole Miss hasn't. And to be honest with you, I might be a little bit more worried about that layoff for Georgia had Ole Miss had the continuity of Lane Kiffin to go along with it, right? But because of all the turmoil and the mental struggle and the mess of all of that, that aspect of it doesn't concern me as much. I do think, though, like I said, Georgia has improved steadily over the course of this season. Jake and I talked about it on one of our last shows. This is one of those I'm shocked with how Georgia has improved over the course of one season. To have done it in 4 months' time, this is a huge step forward on a number of fronts and a number of guys. And you wondered to some degree if they were in trouble early on because could they make those adjustments? I think that this is a better Georgia team than the one Ole Miss played previously. And I think for that reason, it could be a long night for the Rebels because it was perhaps Georgia's best game of the season.
I tell you, man, and it really from the fourth quarter on, Georgia's been a different team, and what the job they've done this year of this staff, particularly on defense, man. I mean, they were getting there was a lot of concerns there for Georgia, for me in particular. Like can they get it out of these guys? They have gotten so much better on defense. Quintavious Johnson's a guy that we don't talk enough about. I mean, he's absolutely wearing people out. You watch 33 tonight on defensive end. Gabe Harris being out really. That really stings, man. And it's just part of football. You're not going to have Gabe Harris or Drew Bobo, two guys that were pretty important in that first game. They're not going to be there. But I just think what Georgia is right now, I think this is just a very tough, hard-nosed football team. And I think those young guys have grown up so much. And, Ellis Robinson, I've said it 1,000 times. The decision to go with Ellis Robinson after the Tennessee game and knowing that you're going to take some growing pains with him, but the long term on him, what a hell of a decision for Georgia. I don't know if it was Kirby Smart. I don't know if it was Glenn Schumann. I don't know if it was T-Rob, collectively. But when you got a young kid like that in this day and age, 3 or 4 years ago, Georgia wouldn't have played him because they're like, look, we'll get him ready for next year. Well, if you don't play that kid, you're not getting him ready for next year.
He's getting ready for somewhere else next year.
So, they went to decision and played him, and, man, he's become who we thought he was. Yeah. He's really grown up. I think DeMello Jones is a guy. I went back and watched that Ole Miss game. They went after DeMello Jones, and that really and truthfully was one of the first games. They put him in an Alabama game a little bit in the second half, and he was pretty good, but DeMello's had to grow up too on the field, and he's done a fine job of it. He's got so much better, man. Yep. So I'm telling you, they're going up against a damn dynamic offense. Those guys are going to have to tackle in space, and but defensively, man, Georgia's done well there. I think I agree. I think they're a different team than what Ole Miss faced that first time.
Yeah, particularly on the defense, man. To me, that's the big definer here. The offense, I think, was saving Georgia early on in this season. They were bailing them out, which is something uncharacteristic. It's not something we were used to seeing in the Kirby Smart era. This time, it's kind of been the narrative. The defense improved steadily over the year. Major matchups in this one, Rusty. Obviously, everybody going to be wondering. You mentioned the absence of Drew Bobo, the absence of Gabe Harris. On the other side, everybody, I think, still very intrigued, despite his comments. How healthy is Kawan Lacey? He says it's a bruise. It's all right. The report was he was spotted with a contraption on the shoulder during practice the other day. That's not exactly – you don't necessarily do that for a bruise. I don't know. He said all the right things the other night. My guess is I keep thinking back to – you remember those matches where Ric Flair would just work your leg, and then put you in the figure four? I have a feeling that's what Georgia's going to be doing in this one early on.
Well, yeah, and you look at that, and how effective can he be? I'm not going to listen. This is just my opinion, so y'all don't come at me in the comments. And typically in a situation like this, which is very common, he'll probably take a shot to play. How effective can he be? He can be able to take the pain tolerance of a hit. But how effective can he be, with probably a banged up shoulder? And NFL is a lot. He only had one carry, but he had one carry for 12 yards in the fourth quarter of that Georgia. They abandoned the run game with him for whatever reason. And I would imagine if you're Ole Miss and Charlie Weiss, you look at that and say, we got to ride him, man, because he had a really good game against Georgia, that first time. So I expect him to play, but you want to watch him probably the first quarter and a half. What are you getting out of him? What does he look like? How productive can he be? But I expect him to. I expect him to really to play for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. I think he'll play. Like you said, the question to me is effectiveness, right? Yeah. How is he able to handle this load? Is he? I mean, I don't think either of us believe he's going to be at 100%. He's not playing. I mean, maybe he's 85 at best, based on everything we see. But I think that it's going to be interesting from that. Trinidad Chambliss, though, to me, the other guy that this kind of all runs through. Look, they have a tremendous set of wide receivers there as well. They can get the ball in the air. But to me, this matchup boils down to, can you control Chambliss? Can you control Lacey? And if you can do that, you're going to really, really forward your chances.
I saw him, as I told this a million times. I was in the press box, 3 quarters, wasn't working. I looked at Jake Rose and said, my ass is going to the field. I'm going to change this up. I go to the field, it changed up. But what I saw there was Georgia finally getting some pressure on Chambliss. I started seeing happy feet for the first time. I started seeing the crowd affect him. I saw him trying to get the ball out of his hand. I saw a little bit of panic in him. Now, he's had experience. He's had that stuff. But if I'm Georgia and I look at that tape and going, okay, when we got to him he looked human in that fourth quarter. So, what does that kid learn from that? What does Georgia learn from that? That was a game where, Xavier McLeod and Quintavious Johnson and Gabe Harris, that front four of those guys really started giving some issues to Ole Miss. So if I'm Georgia, I look at that tape and go, we can get to this guy and we can rattle him a little bit. Now, it's going to be a little different scenario. It's not playing in front of 90,000 that was you couldn't hear in there. But Georgia got that one stop, and they really got some momentum. So, I think you're going to be careful with your pressure. But if you can control the game with your front four, again, like you did in the fourth quarter, Georgia's going to win this game, and it's going to be a confident win for me. If Georgia can control the line of scrimmage with their front four the way they did in the fourth quarter of that game, they should be fine.
Rusty, one of the names I wanted to ask you about here, because it came up over the course of the week in the absence of Gabe Harris. I think everybody looking at Joseph Jonah-Ajayi, right? Trey Scott mentioned the name Justin Green, and that was an interesting one for me because you look at it from a physical standpoint, very similar body types, right? Guys who were put together in much the same way. I love Justin Green coming out of high school. It just feels like we haven't heard a ton about him since. Now, is this his chance to kind of break out on the big stage?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, I would be shocked if you don't see him. Watch 29 tonight, Isaiah Gibson. I think he's going to get some reps. I don't know how many reps. If you forget, he was the number one rated edge D in America last year, 5-star. Everybody asked, where's Isaiah Gibson? He had some growing up to do. He had to get better. And right now he had NFL guys in front of him, but doesn't mean it's not his time. So I would watch tonight to see number 29, see what kind of reps he gets. Justin Green's that similar body type. Like I said with Drew Bobo, Malachi Tolliver is not as good as Drew Bobo right now.
Yep.
But Malachi Tolliver played his tail off. He's tough, and he got it done against Alabama. And that's what you want. Georgia doesn't have a player right now like Gabe Harris. The way Gabe Harris was playing, I mean, he was different now. And, that's going to be a big loss. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But it's not like these kids behind them aren't highly recruited players that have a lot of potential. It's time for this. It truly is next man up. It's your opportunity. You want to play more? Well, show me. And these guys, they've had a month, a couple of weeks. Gabe Harris got hurt late in the Alabama game. And so these guys have had, 26 days basically to show Georgia what they can do. And we'll find out tonight how they do that, what package. But obviously, I think it starts with 99, Joseph Jonah-Ajayi, this young man who's been banged up a little bit during the season. I heard he's finally healthy, so he was freaking highly recruited. Texas literally threw everything at him. Threw everything at him, and he's at Georgia because he wanted to get developed and wanted to play in this scheme. And tonight might be one of those things you go, hey, okay, we're going to be all right because – listen, I had questions, too, about Malachi Tolliver. I didn't know what he was going to do against Alabama. I knew he was highly recruited, but I didn't know what he was going to do. And he held his own against Alabama. So we'll see what the next man up mentality is right here for Gabe Harris, who plays his minutes, and for the rest of the season there, should they win tonight.
That's a big one. That's a big, big spot there for sure. Guys, go over to BigGameFootballFactory.com. And you can grab your official CFP limited edition Nike team football.
Those are badass.
They are super cool. Only a few teams get to get these 12 programs every year, right? You get the chance to hold one. Now is your chance to own one as well. Handcrafted in the U.S., authentic game day footballs made specifically and approved for on-field play during the college football playoff with a certificate of authenticity. A must-have for collectors, alumni, students, and diehard fans. Don't just witness history, own history. Get your exclusive football only at BigGameUSA.com. That's BigGameUSA.com. Probably get a good deal on a Ohio State one today. Speaking of, Rusty, we should talk a little bit about that Miami win last night. The Canes come out behind a very sharp Carson Beck and deliver a knockout blow to the defending champions, Ohio State Buckeyes. This sets up the storybook. If it goes, we're not overlooking Ole Miss by any stretch of the imagination, but I would be remiss to think that hasn't crossed the mind of a few people now, the idea that you might be facing Carson Beck in the next round. And again, to go back to my wrestling references, I mean, this is like that's the setup, man. Like you can't draw it like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and listen, everybody knows that Georgia's got a freaking hell of a game tonight. But just for discussion, let's say if Georgia wins that game tonight, and we get Justin Palmer over there. We know you're an Ole Miss fan, and you can quit.
Hey, we appreciate you. We appreciate you jumping in the Lions den there, man.
he still might be out from last night. I will say this though, early conversation. If Georgia were to play Miami, there's going to be a lot of conversation about Carson Beck, and rightfully so. They're not winning right now through Carson Beck.
Oh, no.
They're winning through their offensive line and that defense and Mark Fletcher. You know what I mean? And Carson Beck is doing, he's basically playing game manager, and there's not a damn thing wrong with that. He's not dropping back, throwing it 35, 40 times. He's being efficient. He ran the ball a couple of times last night when he really needed to. But make no mistake about it now. That offensive and defensive line for Miami.
That defense is ridiculous.
Yeah, man. They are old school Miami. They look fast. They look physical. And, I think I said it on one of these podcasts. We do. All these do. I said, guys, Miami would be the team that would scare me the most. Just because if the light cuts on for them, I know what they've got up front. They got 2 NFL first-round tackles.
Yeah.
Number 70 is 6'8.5", I think.
Yep.
So you got your work cut out for them. The storyline, if Georgia were to win tonight, you're going to see so much about Carson Beck, and that's fine. That I understand that, but I'm telling you, man, it didn't go through Carson Beck. It goes through, can you be physical enough to stop the run, and can you handle that freaking defensive line of Miami, because nobody's been able to handle it yet so far between those two teams. And Ohio State tried to get back in that thing, but they were not the better team last night for sure.
No doubt. And like you said, that's obviously going to be the pervasive narrative, right? Is if we get there.
They played well. Now, don't get me wrong, but they're not sitting here going, we got Carson Beck.
No. I agree with you completely. That's what the talking heads would say.
Yeah.
Listen, that Miami defense, that should scare anybody in this playoff right now. I'm telling you, right, that they are tremendous. And Britton Clark over here with a great point says that fourth quarter Miami run game is nasty the past 2 weeks. They just can get it in there and grind you down. Mark Fletcher is a dude. I saw him back in high school. He was awesome. I saw him against Caleb Williams actually up in DC, man. That seems like a long time ago that Georgia was involved in that battle.
That's a great point there. You look at Georgia and you look at Georgia and they call it the death march, and they will put it on you in the fourth quarter. I mean, Kirby will absolutely choke you out. Well, if he can get a long drive in on you, he'll do that. And Miami's done that the last couple of weeks. So listen, Mario's no dummy. He knows he has seen how it's been built at Alabama. He was on that staff. He watched what Kirby's done at Georgia, and to be able to run the football late in the game, to put somebody out and to out physical a team, that's how they're built. So we'll see. If Georgia wins tonight, there's going to be every possible narrative in everything. I covered Carson. I sat down with Carson 3 or 4 times last year, one-on-one through our Fox 5, who we do partnership with, and exclusive stuff. And I remember him saying the whole time, hey man, I want to win my own national championships. Why I came back. Truthfully, in hindsight, if he ever were to answer the question, he should have came out after 2023, because all those quarterbacks, all those guys, he'd have been a first rounder then. You know what I mean? So, trying to fight his way back, and a lot of opinions about Carson. A lot of people that I know that I trust, like the kid, he had to grow up, and some things off the field a little different, and that is what it is. But, I think from what I heard, it'd be interesting too on a media day, because they'll be I know a lot of people at Georgia still stay in touch with him, and he reaches out to them. So it'd be interesting how that dynamic and all those storylines there, but don't let the Carson Beck stuff separate what's real. And if Georgia wins tonight, the question is going to be the physicality of Miami. Can you handle that defensive line up front? And can you handle them offensively? That would be a great game to watch, man. In the Fiesta Bowl, I bet they don't come out there in their camo.
That's right.
got off the plane in '88 to play Penn State out there, and all in full fatigue, full camo.
It's going to be. Listen, I'll promise you this, guys. I can tell you this right now. I know that Georgia hasn't played yet, but there are graphic designers who are creating a Carson Beck versus Kirby Smart graphic this morning. It has happened. It is ready.
Gunner and Carson. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm telling you, and
you will see that like this, man. I mean, it will boom.
If Georgia wins tonight, there's not enough. You couldn't ask. Hey, how about just throw this variable? And I keep saying if Georgia wins tonight, because this game tonight is
no doubt. It's not. This is no gimme by any stretch of the imagination.
Right now, Ole Miss can win. Ole Miss can win this whole thing. I promise you right now. If they were to get hot and catch Georgia tonight, things don't go well, Ole Miss would be hell to deal with. But I'll say this too. You think about the storyline: Georgia versus Miami to go to the national championship in Miami.
Yeah, sure.
There's so many storylines there, man. It's wild.
Well, it's that time of the show, Rusty. We're guarding our loins because we got to predict what's going to happen tonight. We are not into Phoenix yet. We're not going out to the Fiesta Bowl just yet. We got the Sugar Bowl in front of us here in New Orleans. How do you see this one playing out, Rusty?
I was just looking at DawgsHQ. I can't remember what score I predicted yesterday, but I just think Georgia defensively is different this time around. I think they're going to give up some plays. I really feel like, man, the first quarter and a half is so important right here with Ole Miss. If this thing is 17-17 at halftime with Ole Miss, boy, you better start digging in them fingernails, because it could be another one of those, what happens late in the game. If this thing is 20-10 Georgia, and you start seeing a little bit of that defense is getting a couple 3-and-outs, and you start seeing a little bit what's going on, because again, Ole Miss has not faced this with Pete Golden. You see the stories of what's been going on. Ross Dillinger wrote that story about, the Ole Miss coaches there, maybe recruiting players to come, and then those guys leaving Oxford after practice, getting on a plane, flying to Baton Rouge, spending 4 or 5 hours at night in Baton Rouge meeting, and then flying back to Oxford the next day and doing all that stuff, man. So just think there's a lot of distraction there, a lot of things that if you can jump on Ole Miss early, I don't know that there wouldn't be, hey, this is too much to deal with. But listen, great team, going to be a great environment. It's going to be, I would imagine, I heard somebody say 70-30 yesterday. I don't think it'd be 70-30. I think 60-40 maybe, because Ole Miss, the proximity, they're going to be closer.
Sure.
They haven't been in the Sugar Bowl in a long time. And I think I saw a highlight yesterday, Laramie Tunsil catching a touchdown pass. I completely forgot about that. and there. So should be a great atmosphere. It's still the Sugar Bowl. It's still New Orleans, still Superdome. Going to be a great game tonight. But I think in the end, Georgia's too much. I think defensively, they're a way different team. Yeah. And I think they're going to get some outs tonight. I don't really think that Georgia's going to score as many points last time. I think they're going to try to run the football and establish that on that defensive line and try to get some things going. It'll be interesting tonight to see what happens with Kobe Young, how many reps he gets. But man, having him there, Kobe Young is going to be that's unbelievable. Ethan Barbour. I don't know how else to say it. This kid's ankle was 180 degrees on the other angle. You know what I mean? The other way around.
Yeah.
And now this kid's playing and he's back. So, I looked at it. Georgia, has dealt with probably now Gabe Harris out, Jordan Hall out for the year, Drew Bobo not going to play the rest of the year most likely. You look at all these guys, but the guys that have stepped up around them, and this is big game experience. I mean, these guys have played in big games. And I think that's helping Carson too now. He's been in a lot of big games, preparations, things like that too. So, how does Ole Miss handle that? How do they handle it tonight in a setting like this where they haven't been in this setting? Ole Miss has not sat in this setting right here. And this is different energy now. This is big boy stuff, and it'll ramp up really quickly tonight. So, again, I think prediction-wise, I think that if Georgia has a good first quarter and a half and establish some things, they're gonna be well on their way to Phoenix.
Yeah. You got a score?
What did I predict yesterday?
I don't know. That's what I was wondering.
You give your prediction. Let me pull up our staff. I had 31-20. I said Georgia
31-20. There you go. All right.
Second quarter. Yep.
Okay. For me, I'm with you, Rusty. I think that this is a different Georgia team defensively than the one that Ole Miss saw early this year. And we saw that turn really take after the Florida game. That was really when the pressure began. And look, I'm not saying that Gabe Harris wasn't instrumental in that, but I do think that Georgia just found ways. They found schemes. And this is something that they've consistently done over the last couple of years. The other thing for me that's different in this game is Gunnar Stockton and his mentality coming into this. He said, look, I got a bad taste after last year. We've talked all year about a team taking its identity from its quarterback. That's going to spill into these guys. 50% or more of these guys last year, Rusty, had to come to this thing, slog through it, deal with all the mess that happened, all the tragedy. It was just, last year was a nightmare, man. Those guys couldn't have gotten out of New Orleans faster. This year, feels like there's some redemption on the line here. I got Georgia 27-17 in this one. I think that this is a chance for the defense to get out there. And like you said, if they can get on them early, be really interesting to see.
One more note, too, here. You look at this. You look at – and listen, this part hadn't changed. Mike Bobo versus Pete Golden. Mike Bobo has – Mike Bobo has got into Pete Golden pretty good.
And look, say what you want about I understand Charlie Weiss learned under Lane Kiffin. I mean, I get that. Not having Lane Kiffin in a situation where a team may get up on you is a big deal. Lane Kiffin is a creative offensive football mind. For whatever people want to say about him, he's a great play caller. He's a lot of other things that you can say, but you can't take that one away from him.
And Lane is – I tell you where Lane's good is where you line up. He sees what you're in, and he'll change the play. He'll change the play on you.
Right.
Going back to that game, Mike Bobo put 34 first downs on Pete Golden.
Ooh.
Mike Bobo put 34 first downs on Pete Golden. You know what Mike Bobo did in 2023 on Pete Golden? He put 611 yards. Everybody knows the story. That Kirby wanted him to take a knee, and Bobo said, we ain't taking a knee, coach. We got 603 yards. I ain't losing this damn thing. Yeah. And he put 52 points on Pete Golden.
Yeah.
If Bobo lays it down on Pete Golden again tonight, that's going to be another storyline because Mike Bobo versus Pete Golden has been ugly.
My man Justin Palmer said, y'all hating on Pete Golden. Brother, facts are not insults. That's just that's
facts. I mean, I don't know what you're saying. We're not hating. I think Pete Golden was the right hire. But you want some facts? Mike Bobo has absolutely put it to Pete Golden. And that hadn't changed. So we'll see tonight, okay? Yeah. We'll see tonight how this thing goes out. But when you give up 34 first downs, and that was the game Gunnar Stockton was like, I'm different, dude. I'm different. And listen, from the Ole Miss side, they got to play. Obviously, they got to play it different. They couldn't get a stop on Georgia. They couldn't get off the field. So we'll see how they adjust. But this is a Georgia show, and I'm going to give you the facts. I'll give you the facts. And right now, Mike Bobo has absolutely got into Pete Golden multiple times.
Yeah, no doubt. Guys, look, we appreciate you tuning in. Get over to DawgsHQ. We'll be hanging out all day talking about all the games leading up to this. We're going to be watching right along with you, going through all that. We'll be doing the preview tonight on there. Rusty and I will be in the game thread for a big time. It's going to be loaded up with all the content. Jeremy and Roe on the ground down in New Orleans, man. It's going to be a really interesting one. Buckle up, man. Going to be exciting. We are looking forward to
it. Pace yourself. A long day.
Mixing a water.
Long day.
We appreciate you guys. We will be back with you very soon. And Justin Palmer, go get some yoga in today, brother. All right. Take it easy, guys.